Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox, and we have a bit of breaking news. There's been a call now for Matheson to quit. The majority of Scots want him to go, and now even Nat voters have turned against him. This is datelined at 12:38. As I'm recording this, it is 12:41. 3 minutes. It's literally come up, and it came up just as I was rounding off the last video that I made, which will be out later. They're going to go out of order because this obviously is a bigger story. But the call is now for him to go, as a poll shows that 60% of people want him gone. 60% of people want him to resign with immediate effect because he no longer is seen as being fit for purpose. He's seen as a liar, as a potential very degenerate person, shall we say. But he's also damn well useless as his job, as we showed in an earlier video today. So I think the time now is coming. I think the pressure's on. I think even Humza Yousaf, a man who lives in a delusional, self-fulfilling world, must see the time has come and that Matheson must take the long walk. Let's have a look at this story, see what's going on, see what the figures are, and see if this fondler from Morocco will finally fondle off. Here goes. So pressure piles on Michael Matheson as the majority of Scots demands that he quits. Even Nat voters have turned against him. Everybody's had enough. They want him to go. They're fed up of his lies. They're fed up of the chicanery. They're fed up of the fraudulent claims, and they're certainly fed up with the fact he won't hand his iPad over to be totally examined to see what filth may be on it, as well as the fact that he's absolutely useless at his job, and the NHS is falling apart under his watch. The SNP's health secretary is under growing pressure as 60% of Scots turn against him, leaving it to Humza Yousaf to make a big call. Well, you know, Kendall won't make this call. Kendall hasn't got the balls to do it. Kendall will sit there and go, oh, what do I do? And what it'll be is other people in the party will come up to him and say, Humza, for God's sake, fire him. He needs to go. And that's what's going to happen. Embattled Michael Matheson's position in the Scottish Government is hanging by a thread after a bombshell poll revealed that the majority of Scots want him to resign. And even SNP voters are fed up with the minister, with 52% of SNP voters wanting him to go. When over half your party say the time is up, perhaps the time is finally up and the lying fraudulent fondler can sod off back to his constituency, beg forgiveness from his wife, beg forgiveness from his children, and never raise his head in public again. New polling from Ipsos for STV News found that 61% of people believe he should step down, and it's leading to fresh calls for Humza Yousaf's good friend to fall on his sword, or at least for the First Minister to fire him. It does not look like it will abate. It's been going on nearly a month now, hasn't it? And they keep trying to shut it down and saying, oh no, enough's enough, we'll call an end to it now. And nobody is letting this go. We knew they wouldn't. This is too good a story. This is too big a bone. And they want to chew on this for a long time. Even over half the SNP voters from 2021 wanting his scalp, compared to just 44% who say he should continue on. And that's just the SNP lot. The pollster interviewed 1,004 adults between November the 20th and 26th. Only 31% of Scots believe that Matheson should keep his role. It means that Mr Yousaf could become even more unpopular with the Scottish public if he refuses to act. It's hard to think that he could be even more unpopular, but it is good. The longer he stays there, the better it gets. The more unpopular the SNP become, the more they're seen as a lying, sleazy, criminal organisation, while they keep lying, sleazy criminals in their ranks, especially at senior positions. And you can't get much more lying and sleazy than that lying, sleazy Michael Matheson creature. The Health Secretary is facing a sleaze probe. That's how I say it. After racking up an £11,000 data roaming bill while on holiday and attempting to make the public pay for it. He changed his excuse numerous times finally blaming his children because he's an utter wanker. He has been accused of misleading both the media and the MSPs, as he claimed there was no personal use, although that, as we know, ladies and gentlemen, is a complete and utter barefaced, mendacious lie from a man whom lying comes naturally, just as fraudulent expense claims come quite naturally too. He's so far rebuffed calls for him to resign, and the First Minister has refused to sack him. One, because he's desperate for his job, and the other because Humza's got no balls. Opposition critics pointed to this new polling as a sign that he needs to go, as it is distracting from his work as he tries to salvage the NHS from the years of destruction by the SNP. Scottish Tory leader Douglas Ross highlighted that the Scottish public can see right through his tissue of lies and cover-ups. And let's face it, we all know, as he was laying there in his Moroccan bedroom, door shut, curtains closed, iPad in his left hand, there was certainly a whole tissue of lies beside him. Moist tissues, one suspects. He said by a huge majority, this is Douglas Ross, he said by a huge majority they recognise the Health Secretary's position is completely untenable and that he has to go. It beggars belief that Humza Yousaf and Michael Matheson refuse to recognise this, when even a majority of SNP supporters do. The poll demonstrates how arrogant and out of touch the First Minister was to just not stand up by a totally discredited minister, but aid and abet his efforts to mislead the public. He must finally do the decent and right thing and sack Matheson. Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Baillie said, "The verdict of the Scottish public is clear. They want a health minister that is focused on the NHS, not one focused on saving his job and saving his freedom, I suspect, because if the contents of that iPad do come out, I suspect there may well be a short jail sentence at the end of it for people like that." Matheson, she said, has misled the public and taken the focus away from the ongoing and deadly crisis in our NHS. It is time for Michael Matheson to step aside. The SNP minister made a rare public appearance since the scandal on Wednesday, launching the NHS winter plan, which I believe involves buying a lot more coffins. It's going to be the only way he's going to reduce the waiting list, is by just letting the herd thin itself. We've covered that this morning. The NHS is turning into death camps. There's just nothing is getting done. 400 million in the hole, 800,000, a quarter, no, is it a fifth of Scotland's population waiting for an NHS place. And this is a man who's too busy worrying about the contents of his iPad and saving his own bacon, saving it so hard he'll throw his children under a bus. And now even his own supporters say, "Michael, will you finally go and save us all?" Anyway, he refused to be drawn in why he misled the public and said, "Look, I recognise some of the public concern around this matter, as I set out in Parliament." Oh, he recognised public concern, but he'll do nothing about it. He won't address it, and he certainly won't stand down, because that'll make him look like a loser. Too late for that, Michael. You already are. The moment you threw your kids under the bus, everybody saw what you are. You're not a man, you're a cipher. You're an empty void. You have no decency. You certainly have lost all respect. And nobody will ever believe anything you ever say again, because you are a repeated liar. And you're also damn useless at your job. To distract from the situation, he insisted he was focused on doing his job, which he clearly isn't, and that the First Minister has been very clear about making sure I continue to drive forward the NHS to support its recovery. The longer Humza Yousaf stands by him, the worse it's going to be for Humza Yousaf, for the SNP and for the whole of Scotland. He must go, and he must go now, with his tail between his legs, his head held down, looking ashamed, because he should be ashamed. He's a shameful excuse, both as a minister and as a pathetic example of what a human being is. He's disgusting. He puts his own family behind his career, and then he damages everything he touches. He's actually a piece of cancerous filth, really. And yet people are dying on his watch because he's incapable of doing his job. He must go. Everyone wants him to go. And if he was decent, he would have gone already. I'm stopping. I'm coming up, and we'll finish this video. So I think it's definitely time for this swindling skunk to slither off and never be seen again. Not just as a minister. Go as a minister, fire him as a minister, but he must resign as being an MSP. He does not represent people. People do not want to be represented by a liar, by a fraudster, and by anyone who thinks it is acceptable to throw his own children under the bus to save his face, to save the fact that the lies he got caught up in were disbelieved and that the truth has come out. And he uses his children to protect him. What kind of low-life scum is he? He needs to go. He's not fit to hold office, never mind high office. He should be fired both as a minister and as a representative of the people. And I think come the next election, he will. Whenever it comes, he's done. He's finished. His career is over. He needs to accept it and move on with the next part of his life, assuming his wife sticks by him. Because if I was his wife, I wouldn't be too sure I'd want that man anywhere near my children, given the utter contempt he shows for them. I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. I do apologise about my rant. He just annoys me now. But at least I know, as you do as well, we are all in this together. And even the SNP are agreeing with us. This tosser needs to go. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Until the next video, goodbye.